Hey friends, Brittany here. I have a really exciting announcement that's coming super soon. I have something that I'm launching that has been taken years and years and years to really develop and to really show itself. And it really encompasses all of the modalities I've studied, all of my work, all into one unique offering. This offering is going to be accessible, flexible, and really meets you where you're at, whether you need support for just a month or a session, or you want to continue working together depending on what's going on in your life. I have options for you. So I will be launching a brand new website, brand new offers very soon. I'm behind the scenes working hard on it. But if you want to be the first to know, the first to sign up, you'll get additional perks, maybe a free session here and there. So if you're interested in getting kind of those first looks at everything before the general public, you can send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email at brittany@earthintuitive.com. Everything is in the show notes. Otherwise, just stay tuned in the next couple of weeks, and I'm so excited to announce this new stuff soon. Welcome back to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast, a hub for sensitive and intuitive women to feel comforted, supported, and whole in their healing journey. We dive into holistic health, energy work, mysticism, and neurodivergence, and a lot more, for a community of women who feel it all. I'm your hostess, Brittany Nelson, Ayurvedic health counselor, yoga teacher, hypnotherapist, and highly sensitive soul. I'm so excited to just do a From the Heart solo episode today. It's been quite a while since I've done that. There's going to be a lot more solo episodes to come, so stay tuned. These are a little bit shorter. They're a little bit more focused on something I want to share about, teach about. And today, after coming back from an almost 2-week trip in Italy, I really want to share about coming home to your sensitivity and what it means to be a sensitive person out in the normal world, whether you're traveling across the globe, you are working with other people that are a little bit more neurotypical, or you have a family that is a little bit different. So it's really about how do you thrive in this world that goes usually a bit faster than what we would like as sensitives. How do you thrive? How do you keep up? Or how do you stay true to yourself? And so that's what this podcast is all about. I just recently got back from almost a 2-week trip in Italy on Friday night. I'm recording this on a Monday. It is honestly the first day that I feel rested. It was a very rough, rough jet lag transition. It's a 9-hour time difference from where we live on the West Coast. So feeling grateful that I feel more rested today, can really start the week off strong, and really grateful for all the travel that we've had. I did the math and I've done like 4 trips in a row, like pretty much every month since March. And we started that off with a trip to Japan. So it's been a lot. We don't normally travel quite this far, quite this often, but it's been a blessing. It's been really in alignment with this fire horse year, but I'm really ready to channel that fire horse energy more into home life, grounding, my business, my family life, all of that. So it's cool because it's interesting, like when we channel our energy in different ways and how much stronger it can be, especially when we have big experiences like travel. And I really wanted to share this episode about being a sensitive while traveling, because traveling is such a privilege, first of all. It is such a blessing. It is a way that we can change our perspectives, see the world, have new lands beneath our feet, maybe different cultures that we get to see and experience, different food, different sights. It's just so amazing what can happen when we travel. And I really had such a huge nomadic period of my life in my 20s. I did some travel for yoga teacher training. I went to Europe. I did some things, but mostly I was just nomadic in terms of moving around a lot. I After I graduated from college in 2011, I graduated from KU in Kansas, University of Kansas, great school, great town. But I was ready to get the heck out of Kansas. So I was able to move to New York City for like a year and a half, talk about a culture shock. But that really shaped me to become resilient and hardworking and ambitious with a capital A. And I really was on a different path back then. And I was starting my career out in broadcast journalism. I was working and interning with different women's magazines in New York City, which was like such a dream. I had this dream of becoming like Carrie Bradshaw and being a writer in the city and maybe a creative director one day, and ended up moving to San Francisco a couple years later, became a copywriter, and lived in the Bay Area for, gosh, 8 years. So I was in the city for 3 years, Marin County for 5 years. But during that period of time, which was such a beautiful time in my life, oh my goodness, I started to turn toward or attune toward my life of being on a healing path. So I did yoga teacher training. I experimented quite a bit with plant medicine, such as ayahuasca. I met a beautiful spiritual community, and my whole life really began to change, including my career. So I went from really going all into like sort of a corporate ladder climbing world where I was going to write and be a creative director and live in the city, to then dropping all of that, to not caring about the marketing anymore, to not caring about the corporate life anymore, to I just wanted to be a yoga teacher, and I just wanted to take a completely different path in life. And it took quite a while to get there, of course, because I had to pay the bills. So I started doing freelance copywriting and temp copywriting. So sometimes I would be in an office, sometimes I would just work from home for companies. And, that itself was such a privilege with a lot of freedom. And it came with a lot of uncertainty about how to pay my bills and how to find my next gig. So that's a whole separate conversation. So that's kind of where my transition in my life started, to really bring me back to a path of discovering who I truly was. And that was someone who wanted to focus her attention on an internal life, an internal world, focus her attention on wellness and health in a natural sense. I started to study plant medicine and Ayurveda and herbalism, and I met such a beautiful community there that it really felt like home to me for the first time in my life, like truly felt like home, where I didn't feel so weird and out there. I felt like there was other people like me that knew and believed in this other more magical, unseen realm of life that is beauty and that is love. And so I really feel, those of you that are listening, a lot of you classify as an empathic or highly intuitive or neurodivergent or highly sensitive. And I really feel like it's because we prioritize beauty, we prioritize love, we prioritize art, we prioritize more of the subtle aspects of being alive that is just so much more deep and nuanced than I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, I'm going to make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but I think that our culture is sort of fixated on that so much. And so, when we're sensitive, we feel a little bit more deeply. And so we do really enjoy those more subtle aspects of life. And all of that being said, the more healing work I did over the years, and then the more I began to age, I feel like once you hit 35, this is just my experience, the aging really starts to catch up with you a little bit afterward. So as I got older, I became a bit more sensitive in terms of traveling, in terms of sharing beds with people, even if it's a friend, in terms of, the temperature in the room. I've really become much more sensitive the older I've become. And I really do believe that, this is nothing new. I've always been a pretty light sleeper since I was pretty young, and I've always felt really deeply. I've taken on a lot of other people's energies. Like, that's nothing new, but it really became more apparent the older I got and the more I got into this healing work that I was doing. And so I still love to travel. Like, it's one of the greatest gifts of my life. And with that being said, when you are traveling, you're really thrown out and sort of torn away from your daily routine, from the time zone you're in, from your comforts of home, from your diet. So it's a beautiful gift to be able to travel because you're sort of taken away from your daily routine and you're thrown into something totally new, which then kind of invites your brain to think in new ways. And with that, there's temperature changes, there's climate changes. Every time I go to Colorado, I get altitude sickness for a couple days. It usually goes away, but there's always something new that we're faced with. Or when I went to Kyoto, I had really insane allergies and I couldn't breathe for 2 days, basically. So there's always some sort of like new thing thrown in the mix when you're traveling and you're away from your home, you're away from your routine. And so it can feel really destabilizing if you don't feel that sense of groundedness already within you, if you don't have the tools to come back to center already within you. And I definitely had a few moments on the trip with the time change. I was like on my cycle. It was a full moon. It was like really hot where we were. The AC in Europe is not as strong as the US. And so there was a lot of times where I felt really uncomfortable or my stomach was hurting or I couldn't sleep. And I've been there so many times. And if you're sensitive, you probably relate in some capacity, whether it's digestive issues or sleep issues or energy issues or mood, that can come and go. And that's just also just part of being a woman, to be honest. But I really found on this trip that I felt much more confident in the fluctuations. I gave myself so much more compassion and I gave myself as much space as I possibly could, where if in situations I was invited to do a bunch of things, I would say no to certain plans or maybe give myself some time to sleep in the morning, things like that. There's little ways that you can tend to yourself as a sensitive. And so I wanted to kind of speak to this, coming home to your sensitivity. And in my experience, one of the first hurdles that I'm still wrestling with at times or still sort of working through is resisting the sensitivity, is fighting with it, right? Comparing myself to other people. That's a really big one. But there's often in those moments where we're really feeling our sensitivity, maybe it's some sort of physical flare up or a symptom that's coming online. For me, my usual thing is digestive stuff, upper GI stuff, and then that will wake me up in the night. Also, getting overheated in the summer is a big thing that will wake me up in the night. And so I used to fight it so hard. I used to get angry. I used to get so riled up when I was getting woken up that I couldn't go back to sleep, and that would just make things worse. And then I'd be kind of stuck in a mind loop, just analyzing and trying to fix things and, trying to settle myself down. And it's just like it wasn't working because I wasn't able to just really accept what was happening and just give myself compassion. So the first thing is to stop fighting your sensitivity. And I know it's hard. And it's like, well, how do I do that when I feel so out of place or there's something happening in my life or my symptoms are taking over? And the antidote to all of this activity that's going on, the energy's kind of ramping up and moving upward, is we need to ground. We need to find home. And what I mean by this is, yes, it can be our physical home, which is really important. But even more important is you need to find the home within yourself. You need to find a really cozy, comfy home in your sensitive body, in your sensitive nervous system that you can return to day after day, night after night. That no matter what happens, if it's a bad night of sleep or if you were in a party and there was a lot of people in the room and you were overwhelmed, you can always come back home to yourself. For me, that's when I travel, I do little rituals that can bring me back home to myself. When I go and travel for a day and I arrive at my destination, a hotel or an Airbnb, what I'll often do is take a shower, do a little bit of gentle yoga, maybe a short meditation or oil my body, which is an Ayurvedic practice, and just put my hand on my heart and just really feel my body like I'm still here. No matter what just happened outside of there, I'm still here. And when we find home within ourselves, there has to be a sense of love, of acceptance, of relishing in this home. And so if you are in a place, and if this is you, that's okay. If you feel really at war with your body right now, you don't feel at home in your body, that's going to be your number one goal, is how can you accept and find some pleasure and find some stability in your body, in your system that you can come back to, that's really going to help you. A tip that I was shown was I was going through some health flare-ups in the winter, was instead of fixating on the issue, the part of the body that's really flared up, is to kind of go into another part of the body that feels neutral or pleasurable. So what I would do is I would go into my feet, and that's also a really good way to ground. I would go into my feet and pour my attention into my feet, and that would help me relax so that I could go to sleep. Something I've been doing recently is I've been making an upside down triangle mudra with my hands, placing it on my belly so that the energy moves downward instead of upward to wake me up at night. So that really helps calm things down. Or I rub oil on the soles of my feet every single night before I go to bed. That's an Ayurvedic practice. If it's cold, you can put socks over it. And that helps bring the energy down into your feet. So especially if you are sensitive and you feel overstimulated quite a bit, you'll want to do this every day, maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day, depending on what's going on, and you can make it short. But coming back home to your body or something that feels neutral or pleasurable in your body is where you want to come back to every single day. So that's number one, ground, ground, ground. I'm going to provide some really awesome grounding meditations. One of them is from my Ayurveda teacher, from her podcast. So if you want to check out more resources about grounding, it's in the show notes. I'm also going to I have a school community that's free to join, and I have a Nourish Your Nervous System mini course in there. So it's going to show you lots of tools and techniques of ways that you can ground your nervous system, especially after travel or intensity or going to a concert or whatever it is that makes you feel overwhelmed, or maybe you're just in an overwhelming period of your life. So once you feel grounded, once you feel like you're more in a place of stability, you feel, okay, I'm not heightened, I'm not overcharged, I feel back home. What you'll want to do then is release. So once we feel that we're a little bit more back into our bodies, back into that place that feels good, we'll want to release and discharge all the energies that we have picked up. The earth wants to hold you. The earth wants to compost anything you no longer need. So one of the most powerful practices I've ever learned, and I do this every morning, is to go outside, put your bare feet on the earth, and release anything you need to through your feet. Release. The earth wants to compost this stuff and turn it into something beautiful and new. Energy is never created or destroyed, but it is transformed, and it wants to be transformed into nourishment. And so if you're feeling panicky, like you're holding other people's energies, that's one of the most powerful ways you can do that, is to put your bare feet on the earth, especially when you're traveling. Really nice to put your feet on the sand or on the earth. If you're in a city, you could just imagine roots going underneath your feet into the earth. That's what I did when I was in Rome. We didn't really see any grass when we were there. We were in the heart of the city, and it really does help. So really just releasing anything that you don't want to carry, whether it's your own stress or other people's energies, releasing that through the feet is so powerful. And another thing I learned about this too is that the energy doesn't always have to only travel downward out through the feet. You can also bring the earth's energy up through your feet, up through your legs and your body. So you can experiment. I would always recommend moving things downward first. See how you feel, see how that feels. If you want to take a bit of a longer time to be outside or in your visualization doing this, and you want to bring that earth energy up through the legs, that can feel really nice too, because you're bringing that earth up into your body. So, a lot of us that are highly sensitive in Ayurvedic terms and doshic terms, we have a lot of vata energy, which is vata is a dosha that is the combination of the elements of air and ether. So, it's a lot of upward moving energy. If you think about wind, it's cold, it's dry, it's moving, it's kind of, there's no pattern, it kind of just whips around. This gives us more of a connection to the divine, to creative inspiration, for meditation, for our intuition, which is beautiful. But living here as a human where we have to show up for work and we have to feed our bodies and we have to go to sleep at night and we have these daily rhythms, we need to ground that energy. And we do this through these earth grounding practices. Once we have that earth, we release, right? So we release, we release, we release. Another beautiful element that helps us release is water. Water is incredibly clarifying, cleansing, illuminating. So if you can get yourself into a natural body of water, if you can go under the shower and just imagine everything being washed away, maybe even imagine golden light coming into your body, connecting with your guides or God, if that's you, you can do that too. And so water is another amazing, amazing healer and way to clear your energy field. Salt water, even better. Epsom salt baths, awesome, awesome, awesome. So we want to, again, stop fighting our sensitivity, find some sort of acceptance with it. And if we can't, we do those practices of grounding. We do those practices of finding home within ourselves, within our bodies, within our mind. We then release anything, whether it's something that happened today or something that's been stuck there for years. You don't need to know what it is. That's the main thing. You don't need to know what it is. If you're sensitive, you'll probably feel maybe some overwhelm, or you could feel heavy, like there's some stuff stuck. So focus on that release practice. Once we feel clear there, then you come to a place of acceptance of yourself. You come to a place of clarity. That's when the clarity comes in. That's when the gifts comes in. That's when the magic comes in. When we are able to, as best as we can, resource ourselves and find that place of acceptance. Now, if there's those of you that are listening to this and you're like, well, that's all well and good, but I'm a busy mom or I have a really busy life and I don't feel that way a lot of the time, that's okay. You can make a version of this that works for you. If you're not getting a lot of sleep at night and you're feeling really, a certain way about it, that's okay. I've been there. I've experienced a lot of insomnia in my past. If you could find the gifts, if you could focus on the gratitude of what your life is giving you right now, and just do a short practice of just connecting to the earth or putting your bare face into the sun, that's going to help you get there. So it doesn't have to be this big, massive thing. It can be really short moments throughout your day that reminds you that you are a gift, that you have gifts. And so just a reminder that our lives are a result of what we consume, of what we pay attention to, of what we think, of our outlook on life. And so if we want to change our life, we have to slowly but surely clean up what we're thinking, what we're immersing ourselves in. If you have a friendship or a family member that's dragging you down, look at that. Can you make adjustments to that relationship? Maybe you cut the relationship. Maybe you shift or have boundaries with that relationship. What are you watching at night that's giving you nightmares or not, right? So we really want to look at the environment that we're living in And yes, that can change a lot with different times of life or if we're traveling, but we want to bring our home with us wherever we are. And this will help shift the environment around us. So, coming home to your sensitivity is not an easy thing. I know I just made this like 3-step process that sounds easy in theory. These are just tools to help you, but it's a deeply personal process. And I know for myself, the more sensitive I become, the more things I have to get used to with my body, the more I continue to attune myself, the more I continue to adjust, and the more hopeful I become for the gifts that are here. Because if you look at two sides of the same coin, yes, there's more struggles, but yes, there's also more beauty. And my partner reminded me that, he's like, I don't know very many people that loves nature as much as you do. Just marveling at a bird in the morning, marveling at the sunset, looking up at the clouds and seeing how fluffy they are that day, listening to the bird songs. Every day lately, I've been going outside and our neighbor cat has been coming over and saying hello. And it just like makes my day. Having like my chai in the morning, eating a delicious meal. Like I experience things at a much more deeper level than many people do. And that's a gift. He's like, that is such a gift, And I'm like, can't you see how beautiful this is? And he's like, yeah, but he doesn't go on and on about it like I do. So just remember that through these struggles, you were given a gift. Okay. And because we live in an imperfect world, because we are human beings, there's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be conflict and negative things going on. And there's always going to be positive things going on. There's always going to be hope. There's always going to be the sun. There's always going to be that beautiful outlook that we can take every single day. And so if you are someone who has struggled with their body, their sleep, their energy levels, maybe you just struggle with fitting in, quote, fitting in, or feeling like you're out of place, I really want you to build that home within yourself, within your body, within your mind, because that is what is going to get you to that place of thriving as a sensitive. And the more you can lean into the gratitude of being a sensitive and the gifts, the more you're going to see it come back to you. It's okay to be in a place of struggle. And trust me, I've been there many, many times. I have stomach stuff go on pretty much every day of my life, and it's gotten better. But I try as best as I can. I'm not always perfect, but I really try to refocus my attention on what is the gifts here. And I live a very beautiful life that I never, ever imagined I would have 10 years ago. When you are someone who thinks a little bit differently, that feels a little bit deeper, that's a bit more sensitive to the world around you, I want you to focus on creating a beautiful home within yourself. What does that look like? Maybe it looks like focusing on your external environment first. Maybe you need to clean out your room and rearrange your furniture and bring something that feels more homey inside. Maybe it's something much bigger. Maybe you're not living in the right place. Maybe you're living with a family member or a friend who's not serving you and you need to make that change. Maybe you need to hire some help and have someone help clean your house. Or maybe it's internal. Maybe you've been having these ruminating thought patterns of I'm in pain, I'm struggling, why is this happening to me? Can we break that loop? There's so many different ways to break the loop. These are just some tips on offer. There's so much more, and it really is a personalized journey for everybody. The main thing I want you to remember is that there's always gifts on the other side of struggle, and that in order to really reap the benefits, you have to have a lot of patience for yourself and patience for this process. That's probably the number one word that comes up every time I'm like tuning in about something. It's always like patience, patience. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. But it really is the medicine, because these things unfold slowly over time. And the pattern disruptors, the healers that are coming in, are disrupting old stuff that has been going on for maybe our whole life, maybe in your ancestry. So be patient with yourself and just know that you're showing up for yourself every day. It's not about self-improvement. It's about feeling what's here and accepting who you truly are and chipping away at everything that you're not. That's what I have for you guys today. I'm going to leave it there. And I'm excited to be home more. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening. And I did mention a little bit about some offers that are coming out. I'm going to be launching my brand new website very soon. So if you want to learn more, you're always welcome to send me a DM on my Instagram or just shoot me an email. That's in the show notes, Brittany@earthintuitive.com. I'll add you to my email list. And I'm just so grateful that you guys are all here. I really am. And if you identify as someone who is sensitive or who feels a little bit more deeply, you are not alone. And I want this space to be a balm for your soul, for you to maybe learn some things, for you to feel seen and heard. And I can't wait to tune in with all of you soon. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, be well. Thank you so much for listening to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really love some support through leaving a review, sharing this with a friend. It really is a grassroots effort, and I would love to get this podcast into more sensitive women's homes and their cars and wherever they listen to these episodes. So if you've been listening for a while, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and until next week, we'll have a brand new episode.